Should we pour one out for Paint 3D or? Yeah.
Oh, screw that. I just, I will say you're familiar with this because of our industry and the nature of it. I mean, no product, service, whatever is so sad, so useless, so pointless that you won't find fans of it, who are just
Hmm.
upset, when things like this happen. And there's no accounting for taste. I don't know what to say. I mean, just a failed era of stupidity, like these
Yeah.
stupid creator updates we had for a while in Windows 10, just trying to, I don't know, drive
3D never really
momentum.
panned out. We're kind of a 2D.
Mm. No, and even if this seems slightly useful to you or interesting, the most interesting part of it, right? You remember this at the original announcement for this stuff was the phone part,
Yeah, the
where you would
scanner.
walk around in an item or whatever, an object, scan it in 3D space, right? Because the idea there was you were gonna like print it, right? You're gonna make
Hmm.
the thing. But I don't look, I I Microsoft doesn't market things very well, but their notion that everyone is a creator was actually correct, right? I mean, we all create something. I mean, whether
We
it's
all create noise.
we all create, yes.
Feces.
No, but I mean, that's the point of a PC is it's a productivity tool, right? It's a,
Yes.
you know, so I mean, it was a good message. It's just that the thing they had to focus on because they nailed the basics, decades ago, was stuff that very few people do.
Hmm.
Even like it's just it was very esoteric. So I don't know. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, and so forth. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know either. I mean, it's
Well, I will say too, dude. In researching this, you were writing articles about this at the time on Throughout.com, and it was like we had gotten this indication that like this new version. It was at first it was a new version of Paint, right? It was going to replace Paint, and then Raphael went in and found the code and everything, and we were able to show pictures of it and all this stuff. And then it was like, no, it's another app. And it's like, and then we're like, we're going to get rid of Paint. We're going to put it in the store. No, we're bringing it back. Oh, yeah. Like it just kind of went on and on and on, and like the amount of time that took up to get to the point where they're like, we're not even putting this in Windows 11, right? I mean,
hmm.
that was like several years. Like it's crazy. What a just a giant waste of everyone's time, you know?
I think the Paint team sat down and said, who can we use for inspiration for our go forward progress? And they looked at OneNote and said, that's who we're going to follow.
Well, I mean, OneNote was the only app out of the Windows 8 era to embrace this new app platform, create a new version of the app. That was, by the way, another version of this is the one. We're doing
Hmm.
this. We're getting rid of the desktop.
Yep.
Again, several years of wasting everyone's time. That one impacted way more people
Oh,
too.
yeah. Way more.
Um, but that's the thing, like I'm doing my own little goofy modernization effort here with WPF and my
Hmm.
.NET Pad app, and Microsoft is not immune to the challenges that third-party developers face. Like you have an app, you want to make it look and work wonderfully with all the new features, have it look right, dark and light modes and all this stuff. Like, how do you do that? And I think for Paint, they were like, look, this thing's like 40 years old. Let's start from scratch and do something new. And they handed it to a child so they could stick something on a refrigerator. It was like this, giant hit targets and just looked terrible. It's just like really, I don't know. Like I think the stuff they're doing now in Windows 11, even though it's difficult to do, which I can say from experience now, the modern WinUI 3
Hmm.
interface is a nice a design. I don't know what you call it. Design system. Like it's beautiful looking. Like the fonts are beautiful. The icons are really nice. High resolution. They scale nicely. It works across different types of PCs. Well, it's a professional. It's good. But the Paint 3D is like a symptom of a problem. That's all it was. It's too bad.
Funny enough. So there's some issues with WinUI 3, but well, we'll not take too deep into
Oh,
that yet.
absolutely. I'm just saying as a design aesthetic. I
Yeah.
no, the implementation stuff is
So
terrible.
one of the really popular apps for Stardock, not Start 11, but uses WinForms for the config panel.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Now, exact reaction you should have had for saying when we
Yep.
use WinForms. However,
Hmm.
We looked at moving to WinUI 3. It's not there yet. It's not there yet from a visual editor perspective. And
Hmm.
however, Microsoft's starting to make, I think it was a Dev Connections or whatever, they're talking about new features coming to WinForms. And so like we might have just, because we didn't do anything,
Yeah.
it's
You might
coming
actually
back.
just sit there and benefit from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of happening to WPF folks right now, but the problem with both of these things is that this stuff came up out of like the community, right? So at
Oh,
some
right.
point they were like, we hear the volume of complaints about how we're ignoring this stuff. We're going to open source it. There'll be community efforts they can modernize. You know, WinForms has particular issues around like high DPI and scaling and all that stuff, but um WPF, at least Microsoft has embraced one of those community efforts, and that's what's going into .NET 9 to make it easier to modernize an app, the look and feel. But there's still a lot of hand
Mm-hmm.
tweaking you have to do. I can only imagine with WinForms, it's more.
Oh,
but
yeah.
but okay, but at least it's yeah. I mean,
I
but
mean, it's a
it's
butcher's
supported, I
block
guess.
of making it work for modern stuff, but it works. That's the thing. Like it's,
No, but what you just said is perfect because it's this is the deal. Like there are thousands, tens, hundreds of thousands, millions, I don't know what apps out there that are designed with whatever products or app frameworks, whatever it is. They're still viable, they still work. But we want them to look and Windows. We want it to look normal,
mm-hmm.
and that's the decision you face. It's like, do we rewrite it from scratch? Is there something we can do to make it look better at least? There's a whole range of options. It just depends on what the code base is and what the cost benefit ratio. I don't know. It's interesting.
How long it would take you to convert.